Hello, ladies. Welcome to Vitality Sisterhood. My name is Jim Laird. This is Suzanne Waldrop. And basically, we're just going to lay out, thanks to the wave, we're going to
Yeah.
lay out what it's like to train with me. A lot of people don't really understand that this is a process, right? And so, Suzanne, why don't you just kind of give a little bit of a background of where you were and when you first met me? I will give a little bit of caveat. At the time I met Suzanne, I had a very successful one-on-one small group training practice. I had just changed gyms, and I was in the process of opening my own facility with somebody who I had partnered with and somebody who was a mentor named Molly Galbraith, who's now the head of Girls Gone Strong. And we had just opened our own facility, and I needed to start group classes. That's one of the reasons I opened my own facility. And so we had used Groupon to basically get more people in so we could start group strength training classes. So Suzanne, why don't you take it from there?
Sure. So at the time that I discovered Jim's Groupon, I was running. I was running on average 4 to 5 times a week. I had recently completed a full marathon, and I had run numerous half marathons. But I was not, so while I could go out and run 12 miles on an average day, like it was no big deal, I was not particularly pleased with my physique. In the beginning, when I started running, it was to lose weight after my second child. And I did get results in the beginning. But then over a few years, my weight was just constantly kind of up and down. And what I realized was that I was still carrying some body fat, particularly in the middle area, that I was not pleased with. And I was a little confused by it. Like, why can I go out and run all these miles, but I'm still not happy with the way that I look? So, I had fallen into the trap of thinking that just, doing more was what I needed to do to get results. And so I discovered your Groupon, and I remember that first day walking in to your gym for my orientation assessment. And I came in. I think you will recall. I came in maybe a little cocky, like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm in good shape. I just need you to like tweak me a little bit, right?" But I thought that I was going to continue to run same as always, and then I was going to work with you 2 or 3 days a week. I don't know how I thought I was going to fit all that in. But yeah, to quote Tone, right? So yeah, that's how we met. And that's not what we ended up doing.
What a lot of people, women in particular, don't, and Suzanne is not the only person I've saved for marathon running. There's dozens and dozens of women that I saved from marathon running. And there's nothing, if you run a marathon, great. I've trained lots of marathon runners. I've helped them get more efficient. I've helped them overcome orthopedic issues, all the things. I have no problem with if you want to actually run a marathon. The problem is when it comes to fat loss, particularly for women, the more you run, the more efficient you get. But the problem is with all that running, you have a very hard time controlling your appetite, and you tend to overconsume, especially carbohydrates and usually alcohol. People will think, well, I just ran a marathon. I just did a spinning class. I burned all these calories, and they'll be like, I'll have a piece of cheesecake. Well, you just shot all that to heck, right? So the idea is that you want to lift weights to keep your, and then you want to control, hi Remy, you want to control your intake through sleep, lifestyle, and all that sort of thing. So when you first started, like, what were the workouts like? Did I throw you right under, like, did I throw you right into weights? Like, how did it go?
Yeah, no, that was at the time pretty that you did not. Especially, because I came in, having grown up as a kid being an athlete, and then also, being this runner and feeling like I was in fairly good shape. Yeah, it was difficult. It was frustrating. It was a little bit of a mental game, but you had me down on the floor, rolling around, doing a lot of body weight stuff, and then we would, at the end of a lot of workouts, push the prowler. Um,
Yeah.
and surprising to me, while I was annoyed that I wasn't lifting weights in the beginning, that stuff was hard. It was challenging.
Yep. Well, and you got results from it once you agreed, and we'll put Suzanne's testimonial, and I'll also put a few other examples of people I've worked with before and afters, so you can kind of get an idea of what we're talking about. But Suzanne made a very, very impressive transition with just basically body weight and cleaning up her diet, and then cutting back on her cardio and focusing more on rest and walking and things like that. It was a pretty dramatic transformation. And then as time went on, she kind of like, we were like, I'm not saying every woman needs to power lift, but I have this kind of talent to tricking women into actually lifting weights. So we had a group of ladies that they would come in, and women particularly like gravitate towards the deadlift. Like they seem to really like the deadlift. It makes them feel empowered. You're lifting something heavy off the floor, and it works a lot of muscle. And so it makes you feel strong because you do get stronger. And women love it because it really works the glutes, the hamstrings, makes your shoulders. And, if you can deadlift a decent amount of weight, your whole body's just going to look better,
Mm-hmm.
And so Suzanne kind of saw some of the other girls training. She's like, what's that? And then we started gravitating her into more lifting. We started with a kettlebell and we went from there. Just like everyone I train, like every person I train does some form of deadlift. It doesn't have to be with a barbell. It can be a sandbag. It can be a kettlebell, but they do something where they learn how to pick things up off the floor, because that's very important. And we just basically gradually evolved into that. And I think one of the mistakes people make is they start people off with too advanced thing. And then so what happens is you start people off up here when they're really down here, and then they get better, but they don't really have a foundation to go to the next level. But if we start where you are with body weight and we make the progress from body weight, then we have the ability to go to the next level, then the next level. And then we build a decent amount of strength. And then all of a sudden we can add a little circuit in where you're actually strong enough to do the circuit well. You can apply force. Most women are caught in this endless series of circuit training and cardio, and they just don't end up getting great results with it. So Suzanne, let's talk a little bit about the environment of the gym. Like, what kind of people were there? What was it like? I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding I am a teacher, so it's my job to meet you no matter who you are, what you are, where you are, and give you something that's going to help you get better, and making sure that we're not comparing you. I judge you based on where you are, and I judge your success based on you, not on what somebody down the street or on Instagram or in the same gym is doing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think one of the things, Jim, that you're just so good at is creating such a friendly, welcoming, supportive environment. Like, you greet everybody by name or by nickname as soon as they walk in the door. How are you feeling today? Like, you really feel like, even though you're in a small group setting, you like, I always felt seen, heard. You would ask me questions about how I was feeling, what have I eaten, what did I do yesterday, how sore am I? And I distinctly remember this was, we'd been working together a few months and we had gotten super comfortable with each other. I felt very comfortable with you and talking to you and my training, my body. And but you surprised me this one day when you asked me, so how's your monthly cycle? And I was just like, what? But that, later, after I left the gym that day, I was like incredibly impressed by that, because that is such a huge part of a woman, like everything about being a woman, our hormones, and how our body is functioning. And so the environment was always incredibly supportive. There were people doing different things, different levels, but at the same time, like supporting each other and encouraging each other. So it didn't matter if I was over in the corner, deadlifting 300 pounds, and there might be someone right next to me deadlifting with a kettlebell who was brand new. Like, that was inspiring. Like, I loved talking to new people and letting them know, hey, I used to be there, and there is absolutely no shame in being a beginner. And in fact, I got to the point where I missed being a beginner. It's fun to be a beginner. The progress that you see can really come really quick. It's empowering, like you mentioned before. So yeah, the environment was wild, and it was just so fun to welcome new people in and just to see the community grow. I think at one point we had 16 women on the powerlifting team, and we started out, I think, with 4 for the original meet. I think we had
Yeah.
4, grew to 16 women, and those were just the women that chose to jump in a meet and have fun with that. So yeah, the environment makes a huge difference.
Well, we used to go to powerlifting meets. When I first started coaching in the late 90s, there wasn't that many women in the weight room. Now there's more women in the weight room than men. But we used to go into powerlifting meets, and when we first started, we were, you guys were the only women there. By the end, there were more women competing than men. But all the judges would always say to us, like, you guys are embarrassing everyone because your technique is so great. We would hear that over and over again. And I'm not encouraging, all women don't need to be powerlifters, but the cool thing about powerlifting is if you do want to do it, I control the weights, right? So, and the weights you lift in training are going to be nowhere close to the weights you lift in competition. Isn't that right, Suzanne? How long did it take you to really get that through your head that you didn't have to lift the weights you were lifting in competition and training?
Yeah, very
How
true.
long did it take you to figure that out before you became comfortable with that? Are you still
well, because of my competitive nature. Well, and the thing too that really took me a while to figure out was I was a conventional deadlifter, right? And a lot of the other women that I trained with pulled sumo, and you train differently, like depending on the style of your pull. So that definitely took me a while to figure out that that I was training differently because of that reason. I didn't pull as heavy as often as some of the girls.
Just to give people some context, sumo is where you pull with your feet are out wider. So certain people have structure that makes them better at pulling sumo. Suzanne has structure that she's better pulling conventional. Conventional is more of, like, I would call a barbarian lift. It's more just brute strength. Sumo is very technical. So you have to train it. It's not as hard on the body. So you have to train it heavier, because if you train it light, when you get to competition, like sumo, it's really difficult to get the weight off the floor. But once it comes off the floor, you're going to lock it out. So you need to train with heavier weights. Conventional, it's really easy to get the weight off the floor, especially for Suzanne. She's got really strong legs. It's harder to lock it out at the top. So conventional beats you up a little more than sumo. How long did it take you to realize that your training is going to change day to day? Like, we have a plan, but based on where you're at and how you're feeling, and you come in and I can tell things aren't going well, we're going to do a little less, or like you don't look as good in your warm up, we're going to lift a little bit less that day, we're going to do a little less, or you're looking good, we're going to do a little extra. I think that used to really mess you up, because I think it took you a long time to accept that your workouts, how you need to train, literally changes workout to workout.
Yeah, I would go as far as I would get pissed off. This is where you and I would kind of bump heads a little bit. I was like, what the heck? Like, no. And there was a stretch where you were having me check my heart rate variability, and we would base my workouts on that. And I would be so mad. I would to have to walk in the gym and tell you I was in the yellow zone, which I knew that meant that we're going to pull my training in a little bit because I wasn't as recovered as you would want me to be. So I think I'm stubborn. So it took me longer than it should have to really start to appreciate that part of your coaching. So it really took me a while to mature into that. Now at my age, yes, I appreciate that a lot more and even notice it in myself. And it's like, okay, well, today, I didn't sleep well last night, or I can always tell when I'm not fueled properly. And I keep it in perspective where it's like, okay, the weights feel heavier today. It's not moving the way that I want it to. So this is where we're going to stay, and we're going to do some work instead of adding more weight to the bar. And then I will live to fight and train another day. So it took me way longer than it should have. And that just speaks
Right.
to one of your strengths, Jim, as a coach, is just your patience. Working with those of us who are stubborn and like to beat our heads against the wall, just helping us be kind of where we are in the learning process. Because that took me a long time.
I mean, we've been working together either directly or indirectly now for almost like 15 or 16 years. How often have I had to remind you of the basics and be patient and just stick to the process?
Like, are you talking about like currently?
Just in general. I think an hour and a half ago. Yeah.
An hour and a half ago. Come on. So for context, Jim is helping me with my programming, and we're about to start a new block. So we've been communicating about kind of where I am currently and what my current goals are. But yes, reminding that just returning to the fundamentals. It doesn't have to be fancy. It's super easy to get sucked into Instagram reels or these fitness influencers who are doing all of these, it looks cool on Instagram, and it's like, wow, she got that booty by doing that exercise. But it's like, but did she really get that figure that way? Or so it is nice to be reminded. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be super complicated. One of your favorite sayings that I have borrowed lots of times is simple doesn't mean easy. So it's nice to be reminded of that.
Now that you've actually started working with people, Suzanne is actually training people now. How has that changed your view on my process?
Well, if I had started coaching people several years ago, it like my perspective is completely different, and I appreciate and better understand that people really, I mean, like, I think you've used like kindergarten, like people, as far as their movement, their mobility, their stability, the things that they can do, the things that they need to be doing to feel good just day to day is really, really simple. We definitely don't need to be doing a bunch of fancy stuff, like getting down on the floor, rolling around. That's what most people need. Like it.
Yeah, people just don't move anymore. They just
bad
move in their everyday life.
Like, yeah, it's
It
kind
is.
of sad.
And,
Our society, that how just our society is just doing terrible things to us.
Correct. And it's easy to get sucked into, like, even for me, I really have to fight. The one thing I've noticed from going from, back when I was, working with you and working in the gym in Lexington, I was constantly interacting in different ways. Sometimes I'd sit in a corner and just choir instruct. Sometimes I would come and be focused. And, if I had somebody new or somebody that needed a little more attention, I would, go and give them a little more attention. I might go up front and sign for a FedEx package or something. But here, now that I'm doing these interviews and I'm coaching online, I have to be 100% in the moment, focused for a whole hour. My stress levels compared to when I was working in person are fivefold what they were when I was training like 6 to 8 people in an hour. Way more stress working virtually than in person. And that to me, like I have 15 years of data, right? And that to me was absolutely shocking. And it just goes to show, like, a lot of the people that I work with are, they live an indoor life. They're in front of a screen all day. And then I think they're going to make up for that with intense exercise. So Suzanne is going to be helping me launch. We've already launched it. Actually, we've sold a couple already. And I've learned, obviously, in the group, I asked a question like, what do you need help with? Because I'm here to serve you. I want to basically help you get what you want. And there's the vast majority of people that answered, thank you for answering, were like, I know I need to strength train, but I absolutely have no idea where I need to start. And I don't know how to start. Most of you have gone to a personal trainer and they have beaten dog piss out of you and you couldn't walk for a week and never went back, right? Or you went to a trainer and within 3 weeks you're in pain and you're finished, right? Most women are smarter than men in the aspect that they won't train through pain, whereas most guys will be like, well, I'll just put something on it or wrap it up or put, whatever. I definitely fell into that category. And so what I'm doing is I'm starting a 6-month course, and we're going to start from ground zero. You get a 90-minute consult with me. But here's the thing that I want this to be a never-ending course where it's like, Suzanne has been working with me for 16 years. I've got plenty of other people I worked with for a 20-year period. I want this to be a place where you can come, we build a foundation, and then the program evolves with you. And I can get on a call. There's going to be very specific, short, actionable things that we're going to do. There'll be a 90-minute consult with me. We'll do a weekly group coaching call. So you can bring your problems to me. I can't do this exercise because it hurts this. Then we can fine tune all these things. It's almost impossible to make a program that suits everybody's needs. We'll be able to fine tune these on the coaching calls. And then Suzanne's going to help me demo things because there's a lot of things I just can't demo, or you don't want to see me demo because, the way I do a movement is going to look totally different than you, being a female. So that's my plan. And it's very reasonably priced. You just need to get on a call with me. We'll talk about it. But one of the rewards is I plan on just keeping what I would rather do 1 or 2 things well than a whole bunch of things half-assed. Okay. So my vision for this program is it never ends. And right now, you're just going to pay for 6 months. And if you sign up right now and you help me get started with this, I'm going to let you stay in it forever because I plan on doing it forever. And I'm going to adjust the pricing later based on either, you pay for a certain amount of time and then after that, it's a different price, or don't even worry about that. If you sign up now, there's a paid in full and then there's a payment plan for 6 months. If you sign up now, you get involved, you are going to be able to have access to the recordings. I continue to just keep adding to the curriculum. It's going to be a never ending course. After 6 months, I'm going to copy the course and then sell it as a standalone, but I'm going to continue to add on. Like, you want to learn how to deadlift? We'll teach you how to deadlift. That'll be in the course. You want to learn how to squat? We'll teach you. You want to learn how to squat with a bar on your back? We'll do that once we've laid the foundation and the groundwork. But I just want you to understand this is a process. We need to build a foundation. We need to take time. We need to troubleshoot. We need to make sure you're doing the lifestyle stuff. How many times in the last 16 years I've been like, Suzanne, how's your sleep? Are you getting outside? Are you eating enough protein? And you're like, well, kind of, sort of, maybe, like, so, all these things have to happen in order for you to have long-term results.
The funny thing,
It's
the
not.
funny thing I'll interject
Yeah,
is
go ahead.
even if I were to fib and lie, like, oh yeah, I slept great last night and I'm fueled, I'm ready to go. You could always tell when I was lying based on how I was moving and performing that day, right?
Well, yeah, and that's the nice thing. Like, you can come to the group calls and we can have you move around and do some things. Like, that's the one thing I miss about being in person, because when you walk, I can tell when she walks through the door and I see the way she's carrying herself. I see if she's chatting with all the other girls, she just kind of goes off into the corner and kind of does her. I'm like, oh, it's one of those days. And then every so often with the ladies, especially when I worked with tons of female sports teams, um, you know, adolescent girls like basketball, volleyball, soccer. And, once every, 3 to 4 weeks, the whole group would come in and look like they were going to murder me. And it's just like, okay, today is going to be a listening day. Today we're going to talk. And literally it was like, we would talk about all sorts of stuff. We'd do a little warm up, we'd talk, and then we'd do like a breathing drill or something. And that'd be done for the day. And then the next week they'd come in and they'd be ready to go again. So you have to adjust to where the person is. And then, sometimes people just need to come in, move around a little bit, maybe talk. We would turn one of those days into a nutrition talk, or whatever. I mean, I had one time I was in high school and we started talking about boys and relationships for a whole hour. That was really fun. So, I mean, it's kind of one of those things. It's interesting. It's a process. And a lot of people think they can do this program and it's going to work forever, or this diet and it's going to work forever. It's an ever evolving, flowing thing. Some
And I
people
think as
can
women,
handle more volume, other people can't. Go ahead.
yeah. And as women, we have to realize and give ourselves grace that, some days we're going to come in and we feel like crap and we need to adjust the workout, and that there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Maybe you need to rein it in for a week or two. And, what I've learned in the last couple years as someone who entered menopause and experienced some other life changes that were pretty dramatic and definitely had an impact on how I feel and how I was able to train, just giving myself some grace when it comes to my aesthetic, the way that I'm looking, how lean I am, how strong I'm feeling in the gym. It is an ever changing experience, especially as a woman, depending on what we have going on in our lives and kind of how old we are and all of that. So yeah, I'm definitely right there experimenting now, as you know, Jim. Just some changes that I've experienced recently. And I have gotten a lot better with just giving myself grace, like accepting where I'm at now, loving my body, but at the same time continuing to want to, get better and tweak things and figure out what's going to work now for where I'm at right now. So anyway, that's kind of my soapbox.
Well, and the thing is too, like, the more I get to know you, the easier it is for me to customize things for you, because it doesn't matter if it works for your friend or the person on Instagram. It might make you worse. So a lot of this is me based on my experience saying, okay, based on my experience, the probability of this helping you improve is very high, but we have to try it and see. And you might try it and it might not work. You might have to try something else, right?
Absolutely.
Certain exercises don't work for certain people. Some people can handle a lot of volume, other people can't, but we don't even need to worry about that until we build a foundation. So,
right.
Suzanne, thank you for being here. I appreciate that. And I look forward to working with you. What's going to happen is below, I'm going to share some basic interviews. If you want to check out my gym and all, it was named Gym Laird Strength and Conditioning. It's still on Facebook. You can look at the reviews if you need to. I'll put Suzanne's story. There's a couple other podcasts I'll put links to that you can check out if you like, just so you can understand the process behind this. And then I'll put a link below to book a call with me. Get on the call. We can talk about if this is a good fit for you or not. But really, I want this to be a never-ending educational process But eventually, after 6 months, a year, maybe you don't need me anymore, and that's totally fine. But I want it to be to the point where I'm always changing with you and teaching you and helping you decide what's best for you. Because what works for you today might not work for you next week or tomorrow or the week after. So it's a constant evolution, nutrition wise, lifestyle wise, sticking to the fundamentals, sprinkling things in, trying new things, but keeping it simple. And that's basically it. But yeah, I'd love to discuss this on a call with you. And I thank you so much for being in the group. And if you're in a place where you don't want to do this right now or you can't afford it, I'm going to continue to share all sorts of information in the group, ask questions. My goal is to really help you help yourself. And I want to do that in the best way possible, while still making a decent living. So that's basically my thoughts on that. So thank you so much for being here, Suzanne. Thank you for being here. Did you have any closing thoughts?
I just would say that if you decide to sign up for the course, you are in excellent hands. Trust the process. If you start to feel a little frustrated or you don't quite understand, I get it. I'm here also as, someone to support your journey and your growth. I've been through this. I've been where you are. I continue to experience my own frustrations, but Jim truly, truly does care about people. So you're in great hands, and I would encourage you to sign up. It's going to be fun.
Well, and I think the one thing I want to add too is this isn't just about body composition change.
Mm-hmm.
I've had dozens of women who needed to put on weight and wanted to put on weight and looked like a totally different person after like 2 years of training, looked healthier, more natural curves, were very, very on the skinny side when they started. I had people that wanted to change body composition, had people that had knee replacements, hip replacement. So it's not always about losing fat, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's all sorts of different goals, but everybody, no matter what their goal, whether it's to look good or feel good or to lose body fat or whatever it is, you need to have that foundation. So don't think if you're out there and you want to gain muscle mass, don't think, well, this course is only about body composition change. This course can be modified. The foundations are for everyone, and this can be modified. That's why the weekly group coaching calls are so important, because I can customize the advice to your specific situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you so much. Have yourself a great day. Check the link out below, book a call with me, and look forward to, and if you can't do that, post a comment below, give your feedback, and keep posting in the group. I love that people are posting recipes. Great. Post your questions. We had a great group call this past week. It was wonderful. Had great participation, and we'll see you guys around. Take care.
Bye.